I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC middleweight contender Khamzat Chimaev believes Sean Strickland defeated Dricus Du Plessis at UFC 297, calls out the new middleweight champion Dricus Du Plessis for a fight at UFC 300. Khamzat Chimaev doesn't think the middleweight belt should have changed hands at UFC 297. In the main event of UFC 297, Sean Strickland was looking to defend his belt for the first time against Dricus Du Plessis, and the fight ended up being very competitive as expected. Ultimately, it was Dricus Du Plessis and who became the new middleweight champion with a split decision victory over Sean Strickland at UFC 297. However, middleweight contender Khamzat Chimaev says he believes Sean Strickland won the fight. This is what Khamzat Chimaev says. "I expected the fight to be like that. Quote, nothing special. I think 50-50 could go either way. For me, Strickland won the fight, but it was a close fight, but nothing special. Nothing that made me think these guys are somebody. Both have a lot of things they need to work on. I see I can finish both of them." That's interesting. "I go to a fight, I always try to finish somebody. I didn't see one of them going crazy trying to finish. They were both going for 5 rounds. Khamzat Chimaev believes Strickland won the first 2 rounds and the 5th to get the win. However, he knows it was a close fight and could have gone either way. All these guys," this is what Khamzat Chimaev says to end this article, or maybe not. "All these guys have fought each other, and only me is undefeated, undisputed. They promised me, UFC promised me, after the Usman fight, I will for sure fight for the title. That's a fact. That's what they said. I won the fight. So I don't know what's going on." I heard Dana White say, "I don't think Khamzat Chimaev is next for the title. That's BS, man. Gotta respect the YouTube algorithm. If you promise me something, you have to answer for it." And this is what Khamzat Chimaev says to end the article. "In my mind, it should be me. I asked Hunter Campbell to let me fight at UFC 300. We'll see what they say." Wow, okay. Yeah, I'm an MMA casual, so I don't follow everything in the sport. I did watch the fight between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis, and, I probably shouldn't say this. I was at work, so I watched it. I couldn't pay 100% attention to it, but I was at work, and I would say rounds 2, rounds 3, and rounds 4, in my MMA casual opinion, I had Dricus Du Plessis winning those rounds, right? Sean Strickland won the first round. I'll give him that. And I'll definitely give him the 5th round because of the stuffed takedown. He threw a lot of punches, a little bit more combinations. But I felt like for the first 3 rounds of the fight, Sean Strickland was, when I say literally, he was literally only throwing the jab. He wasn't throwing combinations. He wasn't throwing uppercuts, no body shots, no shooting for takedowns, no grappling. He was just literally on his back foot, just throwing the jab. And I would give him the first round on that because he caught Dricus Du Plessis a lot with that jab. But, Dricus Du Plessis took him down at the end of the first round. Dricus Du Plessis took him down in the second round. That's where I thought Dricus Du Plessis started to win the fight. Like I said, rounds 2, rounds 3, rounds 4, in my opinion. I'm just an MMA casual, but I thought Dricus Du Plessis won that fight in those 3 rounds. I probably have to watch the fight again because a lot of people are saying that Sean Strickland probably won that second round. But I felt like Dricus Du Plessis won that second round, the 3rd round, and the 4th round. Now, as far as Khamzat Chimaev, I mean, he really has a good point, When the UFC had the match between Khamzat Chimaev and Paulo Costa, I can't remember if it was called a title eliminator, a number 1 contender fight. I can't remember precisely for that, but Paulo Costa did an interview and he revealed that he had surgery on his elbow or something a few days earlier before the fight, so he had to pull out from that fight. And then Kamaru Usman stepped into the fight with like 1 week's notice. And the UFC, they basically said that this was a title eliminator, number one contender. The winner of this fight would be fighting for the title shot after this fight, right? And when Khamzat Chimaev won the fight, and he looked at the rankings, and like I said, I don't know who does the rankings on the UFC website. Is it the UFC? Is it the media? Is it Dana White? I have no idea. But Khamzat Chimaev was ranked like number 9, and right now he's still ranked number 9. So it's really, really difficult for the UFC to justify giving someone the number 9th rank contender a title shot, especially for a new champion, right? If Israel Adesanya is still the champion, Israel Adesanya has run through the division once, twice, he's trying to go for the third time, running against the division, then it would make sense for a Khamzat Chimaev or a number 9th ranked fighter who's undefeated to get a title shot. Just throw it out there just to see what, get a new matchup. But with Dricus Du Plessis being the new champion, the entire division is open, right? Dricus Du Plessis only has, I think he has like one victory over ranked contenders. Like Dricus Du Plessis, he could fight Israel Adesanya, he could fight Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, Jared Cannonier, Roman Dolidze. There's a few fights there for Dricus Du Plessis. So I personally don't know who the number one contender is at the moment. In my opinion, it should be Khamzat Chimaev because that's what the UFC said. So I'm not, I can't justify going against that. Or it should be, after Dricus Du Plessis just fought at UFC 297, right? I definitely almost do not see Dricus Du Plessis turning around and fighting at UFC 300. And the UFC 300 card is pretty stacked, right? I don't think they really need any more contenders or any more fights. I know they've been adding a lot of fights on that card, and it seems like the more fights they add, the more angry the MMA Twitter gets. It's like, nope, this is not good enough. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF belt, still not good. It's like, how are you not happy about that? But I don't see Khamzat Chimaev being on UFC 300. Maybe later on, maybe 301, maybe 302. They should just have Khamzat Chimaev versus Israel Adesanya, right? That would settle all of our problems. Who's the number one contender? Personally, I don't think Israel Adesanya should be the number one contender because of his quote-unquote beef with Dricus Du Plessis. That really is not how sports should work. It shouldn't be you lose your last fight, but you get the next fight you get is a title shot because you have a quote-unquote beef with someone. Like that's not fair. That it doesn't make sense. Israel Adesanya lost to Alex Pereira. He defeated Alex Pereira. Then he lost to Sean Strickland. And all my MMA hardcore friends and fans have always said that, Israel Adesanya did not deserve a rematch versus Sean Strickland. But now, because it's Dricus Du Plessis and they have a beef, now he deserves a rematch. Well, that doesn't make sense. Once again, I don't think that's how it should work. Khamzat Chimaev should be the number one contender. The UFC, Khamzat Chimaev just fought in October. I think he had like some kind of hand surgery, right? I think he walked out of the fight in a post-fight interview. He was talking about he thought he had a broken hand, but I think his manager came out a few weeks later and said it was like a torn ligament. So he's probably still on the recovery. I saw some training video. He's still recovering. Like I said, I don't want Israel Adesanya to get the next title shot. It doesn't make sense. It's not fair to the rest of the division, especially with a new champion, right? So either make Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev next, right? Not at 300, like 301, 302, summertime or something like that. Or, in my MMA casual opinion, have Khamzat Chimaev versus Israel Adesanya. That's a huge fight. It's a huge fight for, Khamzat Chimaev, who has not defeated any ranked middleweights. And then it could be a huge fight for Israel Adesanya because then he could defeat, if he does, he could defeat a Khamzat Chimaev who has an undefeated record, who was the number one contender, and Israel Adesanya could be at least on a win streak, right? Like if he lost his last fight, why is he getting another title shot? right? You see what the UFC is doing with Stipe Miocic, and the MMA Twitter's finally getting pissed off about that. They're like, Stipe Miocic lost his last fight, 2-3 years ago? He got knocked out cold in the second round, and the UFC is saying, well, nope, he deserves a title shot versus John Jones when Tom Aspinall is the interim title holder. It doesn't make sense. Why wait for that? John Jones is injured. He just had shoulder surgery. The UFC should demand Tom Aspinall or Stipe Miocic take the fight versus Tom Aspinall next, right? So he can at least be on a winning streak. Like, if he can't beat Tom Aspinall, then he shouldn't fight John Jones, right? Same thing with Israel Adesanya. If Israel Adesanya lost his last fight, have him fight a number one contender like Khamzat Chimaev. If he could beat Khamzat Chimaev, then have him fight Dricus Du Plessis. It would make more sense. But listen, I'm an MMA casual, so what the hell do I know? Let me know your opinion of this story. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about UFC middleweight contender Khamzat Chimaev believes Sean Tarzan Strickland defeated Dricus Du Plessis, calls out Dricus Du Plessis for UFC 300. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.